We're at the East Tennessee History Center in downtown Knoxville. This is our signature exhibit, our permanent exhibit, opened 3 years ago. It's Voices of the Land, the people of East Tennessee. It tells the story of 3 centuries of life in our mountain valley culture here. We have many wonderful artifacts on display here that we're very proud of. 2 that we're especially proud of, though, are the War of 1812 flag that belonged to the Colonel John Williams Regiment and the Davy Crockett rifle. This was Davy's first rifle.
This is a battle flag from the War of 1812 that was carried by Colonel John Williams' regiment in the campaign against the Red Stick Creek Indians, in which Andrew Jackson played a big part. The British and the Americans were fighting over several issues regarding shipping and other things, and the British enlisted some of the Indians to join the cause of the Spanish and the British against the Americans, and the people on the frontier were basically charged with taking care of the Indian threat. And so the United States government asked for 1,500 men, volunteers from Middle Tennessee, to go to fight in Alabama and Florida and Georgia against basically the Creek Indians who were in an uprising there. This flag was carried in several campaigns, but it was made in 1812 by Colonel Williams' sister-in-law, Mary Lawson McClung Williams. The most prominent place it was carried was in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, which was the pivotal battle with the Creeks and Red Sticks. Sam Houston was the ensign in the regiment of Colonel John Williams. And one of the jobs of the ensign was to carry the flag of the regiment. Whenever they went into battle or whenever they moved with the group, the ensign was in charge of the flag. And this was the flag of that regiment, so I think it can be properly assumed that Houston was the bearer of this flag at least part of the time. The family says they have a number of things that indicate that this happened this way. Sam Houston grew up in Maryville, which is just about 15 miles from Knoxville, where the flag is now here in the museum. He launched his career by very much impressing General Jackson in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, where this flag comes from. And he went on to have a very distinguished military career. First in the United States government in the War of 1812. He became congressman, governor of Tennessee, then went to Texas eventually, of course, and led the Texas Army in their revolt against Mexico. And after winning that, became the president of Texas and then the first governor of Texas. It is made of silk, and it was basically almost 3 times the size we see it today. Both sides were apparently worn, and when they decided to frame the flag, they cut off the outside portions and left the center. Over the years, the colors faded. This background material was blue originally, and all these stars were gold across here. We've still got some gold on the eagle. It's hard to see, it does not very shiny. And the cannon and the banners below it come from the commission papers of officers of the War of 1812. This is a .49 caliber Kentucky rifle made in either Lancaster or York County, Pennsylvania, sometime between 1790 and 1800. And it was the first rifle owned by David Crockett. In David's autobiography, he writes about this gun, about when he acquired it, about 1802, about where he carried it to shooting matches where he won sides of beef, and about going to meet his future wife for the first time and he was carrying it, about going on a wolf hunt where he had it. It's the only gun that Crockett really talks extensively about. He says in his autobiography, "I'd got to be fond of the rifle and had bought a capital one," referring to this gun. Davy Crockett was a son of a poor innkeeper on the Wilderness Road. He was born near Greenville in East Tennessee in 1786. He went on to become a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives and then a member of the U.S. Congress in 1828, and became a prominent political and national figure and was our first national celebrity in the 1830s. In 1806, Crockett was marrying a woman named Polly Finley. And Polly Finley's parents lived in Jefferson County, Tennessee, near Dandridge. Crockett had made a deal with a Quaker that he had gone to school to work for 6 months in order to buy a horse so he could begin farming. To start a family and get married, you needed a horse to farm, and this was his way of doing that. Well, 4 months into the service, he decided he wanted to get married more quickly than have to work another 2 months to do it. So he made a deal with my great-great-great-grandfather to buy this rifle, and with that amount of money, it was about $18 was what a gun like this was worth in 1806. With that money, he was able to pay the Quaker what he owed for the other 2 months and get married in August of 1806. Kentucky rifles are a much studied and much appreciated art form. The Germans, almost entirely Germans, who made these guns in the 1780s and 90s and into 1800, took a great deal of care to make them very beautiful. At the same time, they were very practical. If you look at the barrel where you're filming right now, it's smaller, thinner in the middle than it is on both ends. That was to keep the weight down. There wasn't much pressure on the middle of the gun barrel, except that there was pressure at both ends where it exploded in the back and where the bullet came out in the front. So to cut down the weight, they made it smaller there. You can see they used a silver sight. That was pretty typical. A nickel silver sight on at the front of the gun, the front sight. And then in the rear back here, we have a brass patch box, it's called. And inside the patch box, there's a little button here that we push, and it opens up a container where this area, round greased patches were kept here to wrap around the bullet. Now, before the bullet was put in the barrel, you took these patches and wrapped it around there and pushed it down the barrel. You can see the ramrod comes out of the gun right here. And you use that to first push the powder down and pack the powder in. You pour it out of the powder horn, pack it down. Then you put the bullet in and push the bullet all the way down and get it good and tight. You replace the ramrod. Then you open up the frizzen here. This opens up and there's a pan. This is called the pan. You pour powder into the pan right there, and right inside that pan there's a hole. It's called the touch hole. And when the powder ignites here, it goes through that hole into the barrel to ignite the powder in the barrel. This is the frizzen. You push it back like this, and then you cock the gun. You have 2 triggers. One is the set trigger, and one is the hair trigger. And when you pull the set trigger back, it cocks the front trigger, and then all you have to do is barely touch the front trigger, and it ignites this. This piece of rock is a piece of flint in the jaws of the hammer, and when that comes down like this, it strikes the frizzen, making a spark and pushing it forward like that. The sparks hit the powder in the pan, run into the barrel, and fire the gun. There's a double explosion. There's the explosion in the pan, and then an explosion inside the barrel of the gun. This was protection and hunting. Those are the 2 things that every pioneer that went down the wilderness road needed a gun like this to protect his family and himself, and to use for killing game that gave meat before they could have livestock and that sort of thing.